Hello my friends, let me share with you today the making of a traditional type Cornhusk doll. First we collect the material that we're going to use for the dolls. We're using corn husks. Here I'm cutting the ends of the corn off. This allows the husks to lay open flat. That end that I cut off is rounded, and that gets into the way of us forming the dolls. Sometimes you can buy corn husks that are dried in the grocery store for tortillas, and you can make those, but you have to soak them overnight, get them soft. We also saved the corn silk that we'll use for the hair of the dolls, and the other item would be sinew, but you can also use string. This is what we're working with. Here we have the corn silk from 5 ears of corn and the corn husk from the same ears. This is sinew, but it's artificial. We start by laying the corn silk inside one of the corn husks, and we use the pointed end at the top. That's the end that's going to form the head of the doll, and wrap 6 or so corn husks around this in the same manner. So
separate them?
Get about 6 of these. We're going to roll them up like it used to be on the cob.
Hold on.
These dolls played an important part in the life of the Seneca Indians, not only for the children to play with, but the adults used them in the wintertime for their storytelling. They would have dolls that they had saved, and they would have different shapes and different costumes or decorations, and they were used as part of their storytelling. Because they didn't have the written books, they would use objects. The dolls, they would have carvings of different animals to remind them and to help in their storytelling. The other thing that they did is if somebody had bad dreams, they would make a small corncob doll and put the dream into the doll and then discard this doll, and that was supposed to get rid of the bad dream or the bad omens that may come with the dreaming. This is one of those dolls. This is a museum piece over 100 years old in the Rochester Museum. I'm carefully unfolding the husks, trying to take out any of the wrinkling, and this is defining the shape of the head. Start with.
You can cut the part that I.
Well, you have to be doing this too. The regalia of the Seneca has always been very colorful and very intricately patterned. The finished doll could have the same pattern and detail with color and ornaments. Here I'm tying the neck area. This defines the head, the shape of the head. Facial features typically were left off of the dolls. The features were left up to the imagination of the viewers during storytelling. The arms are to be attached to the doll next, and here I'm taking one piece of corn husk. I'm folding the point inward and I'm adjusting it to the length that I want, and now I'm going to roll it very tightly. The ends are tied. This is making the hands. I'm leaving about 1/4 of an inch in from the end. This is also holding the ends tight, keeps it from unwinding. I will also tie a line about 1/2 inch in from these, and these will be at the location of the elbows. The arms can now be attached to the body. Separate the corn husk about evenly and position the arms in the center and push as close as you can up to where the neck is. And then we will tie underneath, and that will define the torso. You can see I keep working the doll upside down. That keeps the corn silk out of the way. The corn silk is fairly fragile at this stage. As it dries, it seems to get a little bit tougher.
There's the top. We're going to tie knots here for elbows.
I take a corn husk and I split it down the center and make 2 narrow strips, and I'll roll that into between 1/4 and 1/2 inch width, and then I wrap it on a diagonal as I'm doing here, and then I'll take the second one and wrap it on the diagonal just opposite, and this is making the upper clothing around the torso. I'm holding the end tab of the first one as I'm wrapping the second, and when I get the second one wrapped, it'll come around the back and join the first one, and at this area I will tie it to secure it. At this point the legs should be defined, but I'm going out of sequence here. I'm putting the skirting on. I start by putting a corn husk with the point pointing downward, and I'll put 2 on each side, and then I will tie these on at the waist level. I'm now defining the legs. The corn husks were divided evenly between both sides, and I tried to roll them as neatly as possible into one cluster and tying both at the ends.
The part that I'm dancing.
Are you dancing? Trim the legs about 1/4 of an inch below the knot. This defines the feet. Now the corn husks are pulled down, and this will define the skirting. Now the skirting is trimmed to length. Here I'm defining the elbows. If you would like, you could trim the skirting and make it into a loincloth. At this point, you could bend the arms and tie them while it's drying, and then it will hold that shape permanently. After shaping the doll and positioning the hair, I like to wrap the doll in a paper towel while it's drying. It'll hold it in that position. Thanks for watching, my friends. Bye-bye.